Hi students, welcome back to CM3261 Environmental Chemistry. I'm your lecturer, Dr. Fan Man Fong, and today we're going to go through this topic called the hydrosphere. Primarily, we're going to focus on water treatment and space in Singapore. So this topic has a relationship to three of the main goals in the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, in particular goal number 6 here, which is your clean water and sanitation, right? Number 14, life below water. Number 15, life on land. Whereas most of the content you encounter later on will be primarily focused on goal number 6. That is to ensure availability and sustainability management of water and sanitation for all. Suppose we could capture every drop of rain in Singapore. Could we become self-sufficient? That's what Singapore's first Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, questions to the National Water Agency (PUB) in those times. Can we salvage water enough to be self-sufficient? As we know, Singapore's water and sanitation story hasn't always been a smooth sailing journey. Water has always been an existential issue for Singapore, and you know that Singapore is classified as being water scarce and is the most water stressed country in the world according to the World Resources Institute's 2015 report. And our limited natural supply of fresh water is exacerbated by our small land area, which limits the space to capture and store rainwater. Now, despite these constraints, we have come a long way to achieving universal access to affordable and high-quality water, as well as modern and accessible sanitation for all. And our policies are guided by long-term planning, underpinned by the need to achieve water sustainability to support our population and economic growth needs. We have adopted an integrated closed-loop approach to water management. And Singapore's National Water Authority, the PUB, optimizes the use of Singapore's water resources by integrating the water supply, sewage, and drainage functions to manage the entire water cycle, while harnessing opportunities for water reuse through wastewater reclamation technologies and innovation. So, this approach applies three strategies. Number one is to maximize our yield by collecting every drop of rain that falls on Singapore. Number two is to make water an endless reusable resource by recycling and reusing wastewater. And number three, to turn seawater into drinking water through desalination so that we don't waste every single drop of water. And you can see that this applies a lot of technology and innovation for this purpose. So the four national taps of Singapore, number one, we catch water. Water catchment, local water catchment in the reservoir. Number two, we import water from Malaysia. Number three, we make our own new water, transform it from wastewater. And lastly, we have desalination plant. 5 plants, desalinated water. So you see, this is the island of Singapore here. The first tap, water from local catchment. Any raindrop that falls to Singapore's island will contain it, and they are all distributed among the 17 reservoirs. And primarily, right, these are all sparsely located within Singapore, the land masses. And these reservoirs serve as a buffer and water purification sites. So that means that, right, they hold water first. Before they go to the pipelines in Singapore household, they will undergo further purification. Now, there are two separate collection systems, and number one is you channel them through dikes and canals here, channel to the reservoir, and second is to use the water from the underground sewers, right, and then transport to the water reclamation plant. So this is really to to separate, right, for them to not to contaminate each other, to prevent pollution. Now in the water treatment process, right, so most treatment plants use these chemical coagulations and rapid gravity filtration to remove the suspended particulate matter, the PM, right? Remember in the last lecture, PM 2.5, PM 10.0 in the raw water. Now for chemical coagulation, the correct doses of the suitable coagulants and the coagulant aids are added to the raw water to combine, or we do it called a flocculation, right? To flocculate the colloidal and larger particles of the suspended matter. Now this will cause the suspended matter to settle more readily and then be removed from the sedimentation tank. And then the water is passed through the gravity filters, right? The gravity filtration that you do in the lab And this is where we have the removal of the final particles of the suspended matter. Next, at the Chestnut Drive, Chestnut Avenue, Choa Chu Kang Waterworks, the area, the suspended particles are then removed by membrane filtration, or we call it MF in short. So this filtered water, on its way to the clear water tank, where it is being temporarily stored, right, they are being disinfected with chlorine, Cl2, to get rid of all the harmful bacteria and viruses. And then finally, when the water goes through a series of water quality tests before it's piped to the customer. Now here, pay attention to certain chemicals used. We apply some aluminum sulfate as the main coagulant, and in most cases, the hydrated lime, right, with a bit of calcium, is also added to adjust the pH of the raw water for the best flocculation results. So here there's also application of polyelectrolyte to use as a coagulant aid. For disinfection, chlorine is used to destroy the bacteria and viruses. Ozone, O3, is also used, right, together with chlorine at the Choa Chu Kang and the Bedok waterworks. We also add some ammonia to treat water containing free chlorine, so that will form a stable chlorine residual to get rid of it. Right? Once we have purified, we don't need any more chlorine. And finally, we also apply some activated carbon, like those in the water filter, right, and the tap, to remove any bad taste and odor. Now, the last chemical where we tend to apply is the sodium silicofluoride. Added to it, right, on its way to the filter, right, what does it do? This fluoridation is a requirement by the Ministry of Health and has been a practice since 1957. What it does is to help with the prevention of dental care, right? So if you see in countries in Eastern Europe, right, they do not add enough fluoride to the water system, so even people, they brush their teeth, right, and they don't brush teeth with a high fluoride amount toothpaste. Here you see that there's some teeth decay. So Singapore, even if you use minimum without fluoride toothpaste, right, your teeth won't decay so badly, unless of course you overeat sweets and you don't floss. The last bit is the lab test. Before we pump it to the customers, right, even citizens like myself, we need to ensure that Singapore's tap water is moderately soft and safe to drink, right? What it means is you don't want to be very hard. Hard means you can see those are white minerals, there's all this substance here, the precipitate that people see as like a turn off or they suspect that's not clean, right? We don't have to do extra filtration to drink it. Now the sample of water at various stages of treatment, right, are all the waterworks around Singapore. The raw water are from all sources. Treated water from all the service reservoir and selected points in the distribution network, right, are then collected for the daily and periodic analysis by PUB for water quality laboratory. So it's always like sampling every now and then, right? There's different parts of the water. We make sure that, right, the pH is right, the amount of fluoride is there, there's no bacteria exist. So all the system is ready in Singapore for us to have safe drinking water from the tap without boiling, without any further filtration. So these tests are conducted to ensure that our water quality, right, is at a very high standard. It's governed by the Singapore Environmental Public Health Water Suitability for Drinking, number 2 regulations in 2019, and adhere to the World Health Organization guidelines for drinking water quality. Next step, import water. We import water from Malaysia, specifically from Johor, and this satisfied half of Singapore's water needs. Now we have an agreement with Malaysia to import water from them in the 1962 Water Agreement. It's set to expire in the year 2061, and we do not know what's going to happen next. So we have to make sure that we have enough sources to protect our own interests in water. So at this point, up to 250 million gallons of water per day from this reservoir called the Lingue Reservoir are piped into Singapore after the treatment, right, at the Johor River Waterworks. And this waterworks is owned by PUB because of the technology. And we are obligated to pipe back 2% of the water back to Johor. So it's a very reciprocal process because we have the technology, we need the raw resources from them, and then we apply some purification process and ship it back to the residents, and people benefit. So it's a win-win situation. As we see that water is becoming an issue across countries and Singapore is not exempted. So due to weather and climate change, you see on the left, water level at the Lingui Reservoir in Johor falls below 50% due to dry weather, right? And it does affect us because when we do not have enough water, how can we, have enough water to do purification and ship it back to them? Malaysia Singapore talks on right to review water price will resume after COVID-19 pandemic, Putrajaya. The price is a sticky concern here. At what price do we bring in the water imported from Malaysia? Does it become a political issue? And we have former politicians sometimes talk about the water agreement, about the history of it, whether it's used as a bargaining chip, etc. Right? But we let our very good Singapore politician do the job. Care for our citizen. On the right, you see a very recent article in 2022. Malaysia government to halt export of 3.6 million chickens per month until domestic price stabilize. So how is it related is one of the issue, when you have supplies from neighboring countries here sometimes. There may be some tensions that we grapple with.